I'm Christine Serlin, the editor of Multifamily Executive, and today I'm joined by Jennifer Petoskey, Director of Product Management for Zillow's rental business. We're going to talk today about how artificial intelligence will play a role in tenant searches, specifically on Zillow's AI model, which is in beta mode and is set to expand this summer. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Christine. It's good to be here.
So, Zillow has described AI mode as a shift from search to a more guided conversational experience. What does that shift mean for the way renters evaluate options and make decisions today?
Yeah. So, what we're seeing for a long time, we have had filters available on the site. That's sort of the traditional search experience. And for a long time, we've seen actually customers don't use the filters a ton. They might use the basic price filter. And when we dig in customer research, this is a trend we've seen for years. The reason almost always points back to they get FOMO. They are afraid of missing out on great listings because they've over filtered. Um, and what we're seeing with AI mode is potentially the solve to sort of this filter down versus missing out on opportunities. This conversational experience really feels more fluid, easier to be kind of going back and forth with the agent. And so we're seeing a lot more engagement from renters with, telling us the information that we'd need to surface the right property for them, um, as well as just getting a lot more of that information from renters. So this tool is making it easier for renters to kind of understand the trade-offs. The conversational kind of experience of AI mode is clearly explaining some of those trade-offs to renters. Okay, well, if you're looking in this neighborhood, you might pay a bit more, but you are closer to work. If you're looking in this neighborhood, maybe it's more affordable. You might get a little bit more space. Sort of pointing out those things is much clearer, and renters get to that answer much faster. Um, and then really for us, Zillow is getting a lot more data from these customers, which we can then share with our partners.
Well, you had mentioned that, one of areas looking at like a certain neighborhood maybe being a little more expensive or a little less expensive in part of the AI. But what other kind of renter questions or needs become easier to address in AI mode than from the traditional search experience?
I would describe comparing units as getting significantly easier, and we have a lot of ideas as a team on how to make that even better within the conversational sort of canvas that we call it. Um, but within buildings or even across and between buildings, historically renters have sort of needed to keep all that information in their head, or we see people keep a robust spreadsheet in one screen, and they're clicking back and forth into a detail page, back to the search, back into a detail page. And so it's really, it's a heavy lift for renters. And so this comparison activity, which we know is so important, becomes much easier. Deeply evaluating affordability across units between buildings also becomes easier. We have much more structured cost and fee data across Zillow. I know other ILSs as well, as we've all kind of worked into this world of increased fee transparency requirements. So we have a lot of information about, for example, move-in costs and ongoing monthly costs. AI mode agent is very good at summarizing those costs really quickly for renters. So that's another activity that I've personally observed has gotten much easier. I described the kind of location and neighborhood trade-offs. The tool, through web search and through Zillow's own proprietary data, um, does have pretty rich understanding of, for example, noise levels in a neighborhood. Oh, this first hill in Seattle is near a bunch of hospitals, and so actually the noise levels are pretty high, and so you do see slightly lower rent, but there is that trade-off to consider, as an example. And so the agent, can pull on this rich data that we're seeing, if you are new to an area or new to a city, this agent can really be this kind of trusted advisor. The final thing I'll mention is some coming soon functionality. We have an early kind of beta as well on deep research, where you can ask the agent to go much deeper on a specific location or kind of micro neighborhood. So, for example, tell me more about what it feels like to live in this neighborhood and how rent prices have changed over time or something. The agent will go off and spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes compiling a much deeper look across all of its sources of information. And so that's something that we're seeking to expand much more broadly.
As renter expectations become more personalized and intent rich, what should property marketers and operators be paying close attention to?
So, I mean, these are pretty potentially really significant changes. I would be looking at how to kind of adjust your on-site team's workflows to acknowledge and understand the questions renters have already asked. That is a big part of something we're focused on as a team for Zillow. How can we take the context that the renter has shared with us in AI mode and not just kind of share those aggregate insights to property managers, to marketing teams, but also for on-site teams, share a quick summary. Does this look like two bullet points on, we know this person has an electric car and a large dog, based on the things that they've asked Zillow about. And so for your on-site team, make that a much more kind of fluid experience for the renter. And it helps them, ideally, if your listing has that information, and I'll get into that in a second, it really helps um, the renter understand and self-select into your property, so they can understand much more clearly if they're a good fit for your property. And then the second piece I'll call out is that listing quality. How complete is the information that you've made available to renters? Do you have, for example, one of the most common questions renters ask is the cost of living in a building, which makes sense. And actually, which utilities are included? Are any utilities included? And what we've seen is that's a real gap. There's not that many listings that have clear utility information, even if it's, no utilities are included, it's variable by usage. Um, and so the tool kind of struggles with that answer if there isn't a really clear indicator. And so that's probably a question that the tool would then suggest, well, maybe you should reach out to the property manager. That's something your on-site teams would then need to respond to. So it's a great example of like, if you can kind of up-level your listing quality and help the renter, help the agent kind of get that information to respond to the renter, help the renter kind of go through that self-selection process so that your on-site teams are getting higher quality leads.
As Zillow's AI mode continues to evolve, what do you think it could change about the relationship between renters' listings and the professionals trying to guide them?
I just spoke about kind of the renter quality. We do expect higher intent renters to be showing up to on-site teams as they're going deeper with AI mode. And as a result, we expect the funnel to compress a bit. What I mean by that is, renters are finding more information themselves through AI mode before they ever get to your leasing teams. That might mean that you'll get somewhat fewer leads. We're seeing declines around pretty small, around 2 to 3% right now. But those leads will be higher quality. They'll have gone deeper to understand if your property meets their needs around pets, utility fees, parking, sunlight in the building is another common one I hear from consumers. And they'll have poured over those requirements like income and credit score. They'll have spent a lot of time asking the agent to compare units, and they may have honed in on these are the two units I'm most interested in. And so might be slightly fewer leads. We expect, and our goal really is to deliver more leases. So we're delivering a higher intent customer who's really empowered themselves with the information that you've provided. And we really are continuing to iterate on this experience to make it easier for renters to discover and easier for renters to use and get more value from.
What do you think sets Zillow Rentals AI mode apart from your competitors?
I mean, a list of apartments is not a decision. Zillow AI mode guides renters through the decision, and questions like, what can I afford? Is this neighborhood right for me? How does this listing compare? What should I do next? That's really fundamentally different than conversational search that returns matching units. That kind of back and forth conversational interface is table stakes, but we really believe the data underneath is the advantage. Anyone can build conversational search using these frontier models, but what makes Zillow AI mode different is the data that it runs on. It's 20 years of proprietary housing data, computer vision across listings, real price history, and then this renter-specific context, this information that we're getting from renters. Zillow AI mode is really designed to connect to action, not just discovery. And so we are continuing to kind of push the product further towards from just conversation, information, educating the renter to, really the important actions that the renter needs to take. An affordability check, scheduling a tour, um, reaching out, getting getting that kind of high quality contact to your teams, all in one flow. Renters we know are moving quickly, often going from initial intent to move to signing a lease within like 6 weeks. But these trade-offs are really real. Renters are making quick decisions across dozens of options. They don't have a professional guiding them the way that, a for sale, a customer purchasing a home often does. And so our vision is, we believe Zillow AI mode can fill that gap by really helping renters evaluate faster without sacrificing confidence. I mentioned already some of there's a lot more investment coming. The deep research, another piece of this sort of connecting the renter to action is this concept of an ambient agent that could, see what you're doing on screen, provide more information, maybe prompt you and guide you to what are the actions you should be taking next, offer useful things like, um, seems like you're really interested in this set of properties. Do you want me to create a reminder or a check on the market so that you can continue to see similar properties like this that come on the market over the next couple of weeks? So that ambient agent, I mentioned renters are really interested in home comparison, continuing to go allow them to go deeper and have more useful, UX widgets experiences that they can use to really deeply compare units within a building or units across buildings. And then voice mode. We know a lot of people really love to engage with voice. So voice mode is coming as well.
Well, I can see this being very useful for maybe the first time renter because they're going to help guide you through the process, or an empty nester who's been a homeowner and is moving back into the rental market and might not know where to start. So this seems like it really does have a lot of extra advantages with like having a checklist and kind of reminding on certain steps.
Yeah, that balance of like education. LLMs are so good at educating customers. And we really believe as Zillow that we have a bunch of data that can be really helpful to educating customers, not just all of our valuation estimates, which of course, the Zestimate we're famous for. We have the rent estimate as well. Um, but Zillow runs a lot of proprietary surveys of renters as well as of buyers. So that all that proprietary kind of data really helps the agents provide richer and better answers on education. And then, of course, on the actual, we kind of call it the transaction. They're looking for the property they want to move. We are really growing our set of multifamily listings, and so we're excited for offering the most listings to our customers as well.
And it also seems like it could be educating kind of the site teams as well. Like, oh, we need to be, highlighting our natural lights, or the pet policies. That it's also the questions that are being asked can really go back to them and say, oh, we're kind of missing out on this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a work stream that we have well underway is how can we better show to marketing teams, to operators and on-site teams, here's the information that customers are asking about your properties, about this listing. And if you were to add this information to your listing, think about, how much higher intent the consumer would be that actually shows up at your door, or, how do you empower your on-site team to make sure that they can answer those questions? And how do we help you build that really seamless experience by giving you that information, both at the kind of property level and on the individual renter, to kind of help the consumer have the best possible experience.
Great. Is there anything else on the roadmap for Zillow rentals that you're expecting by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mentioned the ambient agent, the deep research, the home comparison, the voice mode. One of the things that I think has been a learning experience for me is just the complexity of building a high quality experience. I think that, when we think about how we want to stand out and be set apart, how we want Zillow's AI mode to be set apart, we want it to be the most trusted um, tool for renters. And that a big part of that is having the quality experience. When you're building a consumer facing AI product, quality means the right test cases. These responses are non-deterministic, which means the response can be different every time. You could ask it the same question 5 times, and a different person is going to get different answers. And so it is a real challenge to make sure that every one of those answers meets a high bar for quality. And so that's something our teams have been working through for the last couple of months, and something that we're feeling really good about. But that's like everyone in the industry, in the technology industry, is sort of learning how to do this really well. Um, and an area where Zillow's investing a lot. So we really want to have the highest quality experience, and we're looking at a lot of different measures to try to understand how we're doing against that. From the customer experience to what I've been describing about, are we delivering higher quality leads? Are we delivering more leases to our partners?
Just in this new world of AI, what has been most surprising to you just in general?
I think in general, and it might sound a little silly because it's like, yeah, obviously, but it's the pace, the pace of change. I've been working in various industries within at technology companies for a long time, and um, the pace of change today is certainly faster than any I've seen in my career. For example, my entire team's workflows changed dramatically from January to the end of February as Cloud Code sort of took the scene, took us by storm, and folks really dug in and understood how to leverage that tool. So that's a tool that folks have been really excited about. We continue to expect, the best tool, the best model to change really rapidly. I think we'll continue to be in this state of rapid change for a while. So I think the pace of change has been probably most surprising to me, um, and how it's impacted, my day-to-day work, my team's day-to-day work. Not to mention our engineering partners, who certainly have seen dramatic changes in their workflows.
Great. Is there anything else you want to add about Zillow's AI mode or just AI in general?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's tremendously exciting. One of the things I have enjoyed, loved following is just the broader consumer adoption. I think the first year or so of ChatGPT being on the scene was a lot of power users and sort of those early adopters. And I think we've seen, such rapid consumer adoption of tools now. And so I expect the broad consumer base of renters, definitely to be leveraging AI tools. I would say the majority leveraging AI tools as they come to properties and come to on-site teams. I think we don't know exactly what it will look like, but we definitely expect customers to continue to want to use these agents because they are really useful. All the use cases we talked through, it does pretty dramatically kind of improve the way that a renter can understand what are the best options for them, and narrow in on the right properties so that they are, when they reach the the on-site team, they're much higher intent and sort of ready to move forward.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Jennifer.
Thank you, Christine.